Okay guys, we are back. Yes, we are back to talk about our favourite topic, Dan Glidewell and David Blanchard, and why David Blanchard, Dan Glidewell and Nick Godejohn are all intertwined.
Ooh.
Let's have a look, Mars.
I apologize to everyone. Everyone except for Dan. Dan's the only one I'm not apologize to.
She was attempting to do it mainly for someone that she had an infatuation with. She found out later that it was just infatuation, but yet the person keeps using her to this day.
One night during the convention, and this guy bumps into me. His name was Dan. This is my knight in shining armor. He was on parole. You know what parole meant?
Okay guys, now Dan was Gypsy's first love. It wasn't Ken. It was Dan.
It was Dan.
And Gypsy had an infatuation and an obsession with Dan.
That's right, the
Yes.
man she met at Visioncon.
That's right.
That she tried to run away with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's Dan, and Dan the man, and now he. Obviously, we've been trying to show that you guys have had the wrong Dan.
That's right. We're trying to debunk it. We're trying to debunk and say this is the new Dan. Now, we debunked it in the last video. Well, hopefully we debunked it. Now we have one more thing to seal the deal.
We have
Do you know
another
what I mean?
one just to show you guys.
Yeah.
Show you guys that we think we've got the right Dan now.
Yeah, and we have to thank Diamond Doll.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Diamond Doll, for showing us this. It was really, really interesting.
I apologize to everyone. Everyone except for Dan.
Okay, so we're going to show you how they're interlinked. How Dan Glidewell, David Blanchard are all interlinked to Visioncon. Thanks to Diamond Doll. Okay, go Mars.
Okay, so we start with Dan Glidewell's Facebook account.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to Dan's friend list and you type in a little name by the name of J.M. Gullion, you will see another person, random. You think, oh, they're random friend, right? Then you go into his friend list, type in the name David Blanchard. Now, we know who David Blanchard is.
He's the chairman of Visioncon.
Now,
okay?
this J.M. Gullion happens to be friends with both Dan Glidewell and David Blanchard. Now, I know that's a bit of a coincidence, don't you think?
Yeah. So what we're trying to say, guys, is that this is the right Dan Glidewell because this Dan Glidewell is interlinked with David Blanchard, which is interlinked to this other guy.
Yes. So
okay? And they're all part of Visioncon.
Yes.
Okay? They're not interlinked with the other Dan Glidewell.
No.
They're only interlinked with this Dan Glidewell.
Just to clarify a little bit more, the whole connection, how it's really connected and why we really think this is real now. This J.M. Gullion, he's following both new Dan Glidewell and David Blanchard. Now, if you don't know who David Blanchard is, we just want to explain that part, why it's so significant and why this is a big deal.
Yeah.
So David Blanchard, he's the guy who first was on the scene, who apparently looked in Dee Dee's room, didn't see her body there.
Dee Dee's bed was unmade. There was a lot of blankets on it. Nothing looked out of sorts.
That was his first story.
Story number 2.
Dee Dee's room was the last one on the right. Hit the light switch, and the light did not come on. I did not feel the need to go in the room.
Didn't see the bed.
Second story, he doesn't mention the bed, he doesn't mention the blankets, he doesn't mention anything. This is where, again, we've got another account.
Yeah.
Third story.
So David Blanchard was the first person on the scene, and Kimberly Blanchard is his wife, and she was the person who answered the Facebook comments of "the bitch is dead."
Yeah.
She also was the first person to alert the police that about these Facebook messages. And her husband, David Blanchard, was the first on the scene of the case. He was the guy that went inside the house of Dee Dee Blanchard
Exactly.
to see the body. Do you know what I mean? So it's a big, big deal.
Yeah, it is.
David Blanchard, just remember, guys, is the chairman of Visioncon.
Yeah.
Okay? Where Gypsy met Dan Glidewell.
Yes, so what are
Okay.
the odds that this J.M. Gullion, we don't know who they are, random person, happens to be friends with these two people? He's not friends with the other Dan Glidewell, the old Dan Glidewell that we all thought was the Dan Glidewell. He's
Exactly.
not friends with that Dan Glidewell.
Yeah.
He's friends with this Dan Glidewell.
So this is fantastic that Diamond Doll found this out. You are brilliant, Diamond Doll. When you showed us this, I was like, let me check this out.
Yes.
And then we looked it up and we're like, oh my God.
Yep. I mean, come
Fantastic
on.
sleuthing work. Fantastic.
Come on. The podcast.
We know, guys. With our last video, and we joined the dots and the birth date not matching
It's
out.
too
this
many
guy-
dots now.
Yeah, and his birth date is the one that's on the police report.
Yes.
So, the other guy's birth date doesn't match up.
Different birthday.
Completely different. Dan Glidewell, David Blanchard are all involved in this case. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay? We have a few conspiracy theories, that we don't want to put out there because we don't want you guys to say, oh, you're making up stuff. So we're not putting that out there. But we have
can't
a few,
help but have thoughts.
yeah, a few conspiracy theories. But this is not a conspiracy theory.
No.
Dan Glidewell isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the real Dan Glidewell.
Yes.
In our opinion.
In our opinion.
But we've got the facts to
I'd
support
say we're
our
like,
opinion.
what, 90% sure now?
90% sure, yeah.
I mean, what are the odds here?
Yeah. They're all involved in Visioncon.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
All allegedly. This whole video is allegedly. We've got to watch our backs and our fronts. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. And does this kind of seal the deal just a little bit more? Let us know.
I believe